Good evening, everybody. This is System Chalk here with another episode of the Apostle Obsonate playthrough as Ike Upscribe. I wanted to take less than a minute just to apologize for Friday's video, for those of you who are very eager to see them right away, and YouTube does show me some viewer characteristics, so I know there's a couple of you who really like to get in there the second these things go online. It looks like I mislabeled last Friday's video, and it wound up releasing closer to 7 o'clock than 6, just because I noticed that I wasn't getting any, nothing really seemed to happen with that video. I'd accidentally scheduled it at July the 3rd, which is not when it was supposed to go online, so it was late, and I apologize. I do my best to try and have videos recorded and at the high definition resolution for 6 o'clock on Wednesdays and Fridays, and I messed up on that. So sorry about that, and I will do better next time. Let's take a look at the board. So we've got some commissions which we've been hanging on to. Now the thing about this is that we've been doing a lot of expeditions. We can't afford to have any more notoriety at my job at Glover and Glover, and so I've not followed through on. I've not really followed through on that simply because I'm trying to avoid generating some mystique, which will make the oh, actually this is Pope Clifton. Oh, that's right. I think I was gonna mess with the different abilities, but why would I do that when I'm worried about notoriety? Well, actually no, I suppose I shouldn't worry too much about notoriety now because I've got a reliable way of getting rid of it. And Pope Clifton will... Right, okay, yes. So this is one thing. Now, I don't want to spend too much time talking about this, but this is a really great example. Like, I've played the game a few different ways over time. I have got a pretty clear idea about what I want to do a lot of times. Sometimes I forget about things. So, for instance, I will use the cult ability of the Heart Followers quite a bit. But in the case of Knock or Edge or Winter, I tend not to really use that very often, and so I've actually forgotten a bit. Now, as always, you know, there's enough wikis, and if you ask people, they'll tell you, but the big appeal to me is to actually discover what's going on in the game, right? It kind of brings me back to those original few rounds when I was playing the game and I had no idea what was going on. So, this is going to be a fun little side project that I can do, which is to just reacquaint myself with my followers' abilities. But I want to make sure that I don't do it in a way that results in evidence. Now, we're doing pretty well with evidence. I do need to get rid of my bleak thoughts. Finding contentment would be the best way of doing that, but of course the explore verb is closed to me right now. And then I believe for the study verb, because I don't have any books that I can be reading right now, my best option is to start upgrading some of my my Secret Histories lore. So we've got the Cave of Candles, which is going to be our next location. This is in the land beyond the forest, misty passes and remote villages where the world's skin is thin. This is the idea that we're starting to go into places that are maybe not places you'd be able to find on TripAdvisor. But I think probably at this point with my study verb, it's not a bad idea for me to pursue some some upgrades just so I can have those in time. So for Forbidden Epic, we're going to require knowledge. This is a puzzle with missing pieces. I might find those pieces in odd corners of scholarship. So we need erudition or an HQ with a library. Intuition with time and peace answers sometimes come unannounced. To upgrade or subvert this fragment, you'll need glimmerings or an HQ with a sanctuary. Now, we're still in the temporary HQ, so those aren't really an option. We've got the erudition, but we don't have the glimmering. So we will read some sentimental literature. If I propose to learn anything, I wouldn't be reading this stuff. We do run the risk of generating another old, unhappy, far-off things. This would be the result of basically of having Moth come up. But it seems to me it's worth... It's worth pursuing. All right, and it looks like the Season of Ardors is coming up, so we will have a contentment without having to do any work. All right, our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I could send another follower. We are going to be dealing with the Watchers next, and eventually I do need either Lantern or Knock to get past the door. And the sick room grows close and stale. It's time to get up. Okay, so let's go back to the Land of Dream. There is the worry of fascination, but I think we might be clear of that before before we can generate it. So, the stag door is the adept's gate. To pass through it is to be initiated into the first true mystery of the House of the Sun. The head Gearby weeps to see me enter where it cannot, but it must let me pass. The scarred valves of the door grind open. I think that was moth influence that just went away. I always thought that turned into old and happy, or into restlessness. Look closer, closer still, closer. Keep looking, closer. Now close your eyes. So again, I'm not putting a lantern follower in, although I could put some money in. We're getting a little short on cash, actually. I review tidy columns of figures in my tidy 5th floor room. From my office window, I can see the river. My secretary brings me a hot drink every 59 minutes. The river is the color of rain. So looking pretty comfortable at Glover and Glover, but this is not what we were meant for. Okay, so let's think a bit about some next steps. If I paint, I potentially generate Mystique, which is going to make the notoriety harder to get rid of. I do need to make sure that I'm back to Glover and Glover within 97 seconds. However, I do want to worry a little bit about what might be coming out in 30 seconds. So let's just play it safe and do some unskilled labor. Backbreaking work for meager pay. Is this the best that I can do? And as always, the answer at the moment is yes. Alright, here we go. I pass the time, I've been inclined to tears, and afterwards inclined to laughter. Meanwhile, the world continues. This is one thing I really like about the way that studying works in here, right? So if you think about what we're going to need to bring in, if I'm going to be combining 2 forbidden epics into higher lore, and I always sort of think about either my own studies or my own projects, there's definitely something to be said for just raw brain power, right? If you study and if you work hard at something, you will sometimes have a breakthrough, right? You're not going to be able to solve a math problem if you haven't taken time to understand the definitions of things and basically be able to sort of develop a chain of reasoning that sort of will logically follow and is sort of unambiguous. But we're kidding ourselves if we think that this is the only way that these kinds of problems get solved, and particularly problems which are maybe a little bit closer to the frontier, as in the case of the Forbidden Epics. You can't necessarily just rely on sort of this very rote application of some concepts that you've maybe learned before. I've had to do some more data-oriented work, but of course the greatest influences for a lot of those projects do tend to come from the fact that I've either read a newspaper article or I read a book somewhere, or basically there are some ideas that are sort of floating around in your head waiting for an opportunity to sort of be expressed, I suppose, for lack of a better term. And in this case here, I really like this idea that, as we're plumbing the depths, as we're trying to gain more knowledge of, as the definition says, the scar on the world's skin, or the unknown complexities of the world and its many pasts, being able to have that moment of inspiration, and in this case, that being represented through a glimmering, and our obtaining of a glimmering through reading things that are not necessarily Deep Dark Mysteries Volume 500, but rather reading something that we wouldn't normally associate with, the occult. It's one of those things that sort of rings true to me, and it's one of the ways that I've been able to sort of keep engaged with Cultist Simulator, and one of those little, just one of those little touches that really speaks to me. I suppose I did say I was going to use that fleeting reminiscence to get rid of the fascination, but we'll have a fleeting reminiscence pop up anyway. Some days are better than others. Sometimes the sky is nothing like a filthy sheet. Sometimes the river runs clear. Okay. Watchers' confusion. Their bewilderment is our opportunity. Will pass in silent secrecy. So moving forward, I'm going to add either 2 lantern or 2 knock followers, because at this point here we only need to worry about the hidden door. We only risk the Caligians, which we can afford to lose. We didn't have to risk any of our own people. Okay, so you know what? Last broadcast I remembered what the consequences here were. Let's try the Painted River. I suppose if I'm lucky I'll get an erudition. Oh, or a Forbidden Epic. The attention of the hours is drawn to the bloodiest wars. Afterwards the histories are braided like hair. There's a great chamber in the mantis through which the Painted River flows. The vagabond, it is claimed, painted it from memory in the years before she left the house. Certainly there are histories concealed in its design. I traced them with my hand last night. There were fragments of aquamarine paint beneath my nails, flecks of gold leaf when I was done. And my follower has committed a dangerous error. Their mind is still intact, but the light of the mantis has touched the world here. Okay, so obviously this is something that could have turned very dangerous based on where I was in Dream. So I suppose we didn't really get an answer in terms of what happens when we talk with a lantern follower. I'm gonna roll the dice again. This is again potentially dangerous, but I do have a little bit of an escape in the sense that one, I know the next season's gonna be one that generates despair. We didn't generate notoriety, so that was what I was really worried about. And then, although I suppose I should be also preparing for notoriety to get hoovered up by one of my heart followers. But basically, I know I'm going to have a way of being able to deal with at least one of these fascinations, so it's not going to be sort of a failure that I'm going to have to deal with right away, and I feel like we should be able to get a handle on the remaining fascination if we feel sufficiently worried. I think I'm also going to leave the dream slot open specifically so that I can use that fleeting reminiscence within half a minute. Wisdom is a country, and these are its maps. I never read this one before. History is less certain than we are taught. I can learn from the study of its blurred edges. Okay, let's put Slee in. Okay, I've got 39 seconds to get my act together. Let's run the risk by going back to Glover and Glover, or the board seat. I don't think we'll generate the notoriety in the time. The days are past when I could head home after lunch. My colleagues have begun to suspect what I am. They know nothing of what I could be. So just a marker that things are difficult at work. Alright, so here we need erudition, I believe. Yep, just in time. We call upon the watchman who navigates. Our senses are sharpened. We should find this hidden door. We'll almost certainly find this hidden door with Cat Carol on the case. Wolf Despair prowls elsewhere, and we've got 42 seconds on this fascination, so we know we're safe. We actually, again, obviously we're playing with fire here, but in this case I'm not worried because 46 seconds before the Season of Visions, as long as I get rid of this fascination, nothing should trigger it. Now, of course, if we get unlucky with Augury, my disciple could probably determine times and places where power will be available for our uses, but in the Mantis, matters of the Mantis, there is always danger. If, of course, we fail this again, we're gonna be in a world of pain. Hours of scholarship and meditation. Okay, 22 seconds, so I think we should be safe from the notoriety from the expedition, although I think it's going to be a little bit close for the next time we need to visit the meeting of the board. Faint lines in the stone, a surface that yields to pressure. We found it. The hidden door moves with a grating shudder and a shower of dust. My follower has found one more way to align our work with the greater work of the hours. Alright, so it looks like the reward for that is influence. So we got some erudition back, which is nice. A consciousness of radiance. Not so nice, because I believe it becomes... Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is exactly the thing I don't want right now. Okay, so now we need to find a way of getting rid of this lantern. I think I'm going to try and do that with... I think I'm actually going to try and convert it. So... Alright. Not entirely convinced this gets me what I need. Okay, I'm going to try this run again. So winter, I have a feeling I'm not going to want to keep the results of this, but significant conversations in a smoky meeting room. What do I need from my follower? Murder a stranger. A skilled disciple can probably bring back a fresh corpse. No thank you. I don't need that kind of attention right now. And let's go... We're going to roll the dice one more time at Glover and Glover just because I think we'll have enough time through the expedition. Alright. Intuition. We should be good there. Not so sure about the consciousness's radiance, whether or not it's going to last long enough for me to get what I need. The air is curdled now. I'm home again in this lumpen flesh. Better, perhaps. Okay. So I'm just trying to think if it's worth it going back through the stag door. Let's see how... Well, yeah, okay. Yes, we will, because in the end I can always just go through the places that aren't going to be generating... we can go to the places that aren't going to be generating... fascination. World's End. The library ceiling collapsed years ago. Many of the books have been reduced to swollen pulp by dripping water. Something must remain. This is the Kuznetsov Endowment, by the way. So we're safe as far as Glover and Glover is concerned, but I might have a little difficulty in the in the in-between time. I might have to sort of persuade people that I'm serious about the job. Alright, so we knew that was coming. Oh, public gaze. I've used a follower who's too well known. The Suppression Bureau may hear of it. That's unexpected. I've not run into that before. Okay, interesting. So I definitely want to have Leo charm people. So, more money. Nothing else really for me to do as far as work is concerned except pick up heavy things and put them down again. So I'm going to do that right now. And I have a feeling I'm actually going to have 2 charm jobs. So I'm feeling less and less convinced that I'm going to be able to make it back to my job on the board. Alright, exotic cravings. I think that might be a little early. And another season of vision, so I'm generally safe. A portrait of a genuinely smiling man, dark skin, bright eyes, neither hair nor eyebrows, watches over the ruined library. It is titled "Don't Mind Me" and signed with an indecipherable serpentine scrawl. The paint is peeling. It watches us with its benevolent smile as we find intact treasures among the swollen books on the shelves. Alright, Cap Caro's back. We were planning for this notoriety, so no surprises there. I guess I could put it in my usual spot here. We've got Slee. I spent a little too much. So the Callagine, this will help me get rid of evidence if it comes up, but we don't know whether or not the evidence is actually going to be a thing. And we now have the Burning Woman, which is in Frisian. We can read that. The Silver Book is in Fusine, so we're good there. The Iron Book, same language. The Known Unknown Tantra by Mr. Rumsfeld, as is the Encircling Tantra, and on Matthias and the Amethyst Imago in Aramaic. Cool. So I suppose the question becomes, do I feel confident enough to go on another expedition? And I do, but I'm also a little bit conscious of the time, so perhaps that would be something that we can start with for the rest of the... that's maybe something we can start with on the... you know what? Let's start. So, Cave of Candles. Every 7th sunset, the cunning man comes from the village below to renew the candles. The floor of the entrance chamber is slick of stinking wax. He claims that the light keeps the creatures below cowed, but more likely the sacrifices he brings keep it too sated to emerge. And again, we'll double up the Callagines. That does mean problems for us if evidence comes up, but I'm trusting that the Heart followers will do what they need. The ascent to the cave through the high passes will be dangerous. Whatever waits in the darkness below is probably more dangerous still. Okay, so we are blinking in the light. Now I understand. So we'll be getting some extra. Lore in the next session as well. We'll see what happens with our notoriety. A courier has arrived from our delight with a single vial of their most holy blood. So, actually, it's just going to arrive at exactly the time we need. So, feeling good about that. And I've used a follower who's too well known. The Suppression Bureau may hear of it. So, yes, 2 notoriety. So that means we need at least 2 minutes with our Heart followers to get rid of it. And we will close. I suppose I can't close with the Mansis open. So let's go to the Ascent of Knives because I have a feeling the Painted River is going to cause me problems. No! Alright, an urgency of appetite. This will get me glimmering though, so it is difficult to control oneself. The Ascent of Knives is called the Sharp Stair and the Mother of Mirrors, and the Feast of the Grail. If one is to look beneath the stair as I did last night in my dreams, one understands that last name. It draws a tithe of blood from the feet of those who ascend. And Pausai, some shaped like men, many shaped like women, wait beneath the glass of the stairs to satisfy their hunger. I did not approach, I made no sound, I only observed. And on that note, I am going to try and end on time tonight, so thank you very much for watching. As always, if you are enjoying the series and you have not yet done so, I'd love it if you would subscribe. If you want notifications of when videos come online, there is a little bell beside it which you can hit. It doesn't opt you into that anymore and hasn't for a while. And of course, if you are someone inclined to do so, I do always appreciate the likes and the comments. I do read all of the comments. I try to respond to all of them. And or at least the ones that seem to want response. As always, you know, the attention is something that is always appreciated, just because it lets sort of YouTube know that I am in fact somebody who's producing things that people want. But until then, I will see you all Friday. Thanks for watching.